It seems as though carriers right now are faced with densifying their networks with small cell, IDAS, ODAS, and they're trying to figure out how to do that. At the same time, there's a lot of buzz around NFV and SDN. So what are you seeing? How are carriers reconciling the demand for more networks and virtualization at the same time?
Yeah. So I think if you look at it, and if I'm putting on OSS point of view here, so the whole small cells part is really about we creating more and more complexity in the radio network because we still have 2G, 3G, LTE, small cells, and we've not yet switched off a 2G network, right? So we have to be able to manage that without exploding the operations room. So from an OSS perspective, that is basically saying I need to be able to use the same processes and the same tools independent on the network technology, and this is true for small cells as well. I cannot create another silo because we spent 15 years in the OSS industry breaking down silos, and now we don't want to create a new one, right? So with that, having said that, and talk about the coverage and how do we actually get the connectivity out to people where they are at the right times. Well, the other part is that when we talk about the whole NFV, SDN, cloud discussions, for us, this is really related to the agility. How quickly can you change the business part of it? How quickly can you introduce new services? How quickly can you respond to the demands of your end users as an operator? And based on that, there is of course one thing, because again, coming back and saying we don't want to create another silo for small cells, well, we don't want to create another silo for the part of the network that is suddenly virtualized. So we need to be able to say on the OSS level that I need to be able to manage this with the same processes, with the same OSS, independent on whether my network is virtualized, whether I'm using software-defined network technologies, or I'm having a radio network that's a complete mesh of everything that's out there. And for us, the OSS aspect in that, bringing back to an earlier point we discussed about multi-vendor environments, well, it's very, very crucial that the OSS layer becomes about how do we get the simple OSS processes, the operational processes, and how do we ensure that the tools actually support this without having to create another, 7 different screens that you need to log into. One example that we actually discussed with one of our customers recently was like, just a simple login time in the morning for an operations engineer, if he has to take care of all this, could be as much as up to half an hour before he's logged into the systems he needs to use to do his daily work. If we then sum that up to an US operations, how many engineers that are sitting in an operations room 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, how many man hours do we actually spend just logging into tools? So for us, it's extremely key that when we talk about all this technology, that we also talk about how do we keep it simple in an operations layer so that we don't mess up the opportunity and don't spend either the money savings or the agility money that's in there on creating another operational silo.